Now, tonight the Women in Science Awards are being held there. It'll see women scientists being recognised for their work. There's been, as you'll know, huge debate in many societies, including ours, around the lack of women in our scientific community and about how in some cases many of the senior positions in science have been held by men. Iviwe Poti is our reporter on that story in Port Elizabeth tonight. Iviwe, good evening to you. What's scheduled to happen there this evening?
Good evening to you too, Stephen. Well, tonight is all about celebrating and advancing and empowering women which are in the industry of science. We're going to see a number of bursaries being handed over and a number of women being celebrated in terms of the research and the work that they do in this industry. This year, obviously, the awards look at the fourth industrial revolution and making it work for women. And I think what's most interesting is that there are women in the forefront in terms of how are they going to make the fourth industrial revolution work for them. And also earlier on speaking to the Minister, Dr. Bladen Zimande, saying that, you know, it's these women that will then ensure that women actually have a slice of the cake, and they're making major contributions in terms of taking South Africa forward, looking at the fourth industrial revolution. But now with me, I've got Dr. Thisasana, who's going to speak to us a bit more in terms of the work that you've been doing with the President as one of the commissioners that is part of a panel that looks at the fourth industrial revolution and also looking at the role of women in this industry.
Thank you very much for having us, and thank you for this opportunity. One of the most important things as a commission that we're doing, we're looking at the National Development Plan 2030, looking at how historically South Africa has been inundated with poverty, inequality, and also the unemployment rate we're seeing that is skyrocketing. How can we then use the fourth industrial revolution for socio-economic impact so that we can decrease this rampanting inequality and poverty streak that's facing our country right now?
And then when we talk of inequality and poverty and the lack of job creations, and we look at the fourth industrial revolution, many will say that from the minimal understanding that we have, you know, this is an advancement of technology. How do we as ordinary citizens or the youth that is here today that want to be empowered, how do they remain relevant in terms of finding or creating jobs where certain jobs will then go away? How do we look at innovation?
Innovation is more than just technology. It's a fusion of physical and biological and also digital spheres. So we take what we have and what we know and we merge it with a different sector like social science. For example, what we do is there's a wealth of homogeneous and also cultural and heritage data and information that we have. People from the Eastern Cape, for example, are quite gifted in crafts, in arts, in music. We've got content that we own. How can we use that for empowering ourselves? One example is that we are putting music on blockchain for artists that are independent and also are creating their own music. Previously it was difficult for artists to promote and get their music out there, but now it's become easier. The barriers to entries are being lessened because of the different distribution channels that are more digital and more accessible from the communities that were marginalized before.
And then looking at, I don't know if the term is correct, but the Internet of Things, the day of Internet, and the youth and our education system, the technological universities that we have, and as well as, the education system that we have. How do we then shift it, or are there any suggestions of shifting it to a point where it goes hand in hand with the fourth industrial revolution that we're moving towards?
That's exactly what we're doing. Fortunately, the commission is comprising of, we have youth commissioners, we have commissioners that are in research who own their companies, we have SMMEs. So what we're doing is that we're drawing from the strengths of all the representatives and the cohorts and also the representatives that they bring in and they represent. One of the things that we're finding is very important and is very vital is that we must look at ourselves as South Africans. What are our strengths currently? What can we do? We can start with application development. We can start with master classes. We can start with just on-the-job training. The likes of the Youth Employment Service graduates on the job, learning how to reskill while they're being involved in projects by SMMEs, by industry, by corporates, by government, and also the fact that the government has also taken away the fact that you need to have had previous work exposure before you can participate in a learning on the job initiative. So those are the things the legislation will have to change so that we can accommodate accommodate and also include communities that are rural, that are township, that are urban, that is all inclusive and not exclude other people.
Thank you so much, Doc.
Thank you very much.
Well, there we have it, Stephen. This commission also that the doctor's speaking to, and also awards such as these look, to make sure that all of us are prepared for the fourth industrial revolution, and making it a bit easier for all of us to actually understand what is required of an ordinary citizen so that you remain relevant when we speak about the fourth industrial revolution. But for now, it's back to you in studio.
Iviwe Poti, thank you very much indeed for your reporting tonight. All right.